Go to overcomecompulsivehoarding.co.uk/online therapy to get 20% off your first month of cognitive behavioural therapy, with weekly sessions online with a therapist, in addition to worksheets, a journal, meditation and yoga videos, and unlimited messaging. There's strong evidence that CBT can help people who hoard, and accessing therapy online can be affordable and accessible. Find out more and get your discount at overcomecompulsivehoarding.co.uk/online therapy.
With LinkedIn Jobs, we tap into a network of more than 1 billion professionals to help you find quality professionals quickly and easily for any role you need. Marketing wizards? Found them.
Software engineers?
Found. That project manager I could never seem to hire? And found. LinkedIn Jobs quickly matches your roles with candidates with the right skills and experience. In fact, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Post your first job for free and get started at linkedin.com/spoken. That's linkedin.com/spoken. Terms and conditions apply.
A lot can happen in 3 years, like a chatbot may be your new best friend. But what won't change? Needing health insurance. United Healthcare Tri-Term Medical Plans, underwritten by Golden Rule Insurance Company, offer flexible, budget-friendly coverage that lasts nearly 3 years in some states. Learn more at uh1.com.
Think of all the sleep hacks you've ever heard. You could spend years trying them all, or you could instantly transform your sleep with Bowl and Branch. They make the softest, most breathable bedding you'll ever feel. And it's all 20% off. That's their best sale of the entire season. Millions of sleepers love their buttery soft sheets, airy blankets, cloud-like duvets, and so much more. And you can try all of them for 20% off with promo code BUTTERY20. So hurry to bowlandbranch.com today. That's BOLL and branch.com. See site for details.
Welcome to the Overcome Compulsive Hoarding with That Hoarder podcast. I am drowning in stuff and trying to find a way out. Listen as I explore the issues and delve deep as somebody profoundly affected by hoarding disorder. Find out more, including links to subscribe to the podcast, at overcomecompulsivehoarding.co.uk, and follow me on Twitter at That Hoarder and on Facebook at facebook.com/That Hoarder. So today I want to talk about shame. I have touched on it a number of times, but I thought it deserved its own episode because it's huge. Shame is toxic. If you can only take one thing away from this episode, let it be that. Shame is toxic. And yet the stigma associated with hoarding, the general attitude of members of the public and indeed professionals about hoarders are so negative that it's impossible to feel anything other than shame, for me at least. Some hoarders are amazing and come out publicly and shed that shame, and I can only praise them, but I also can't relate to how they dare do that. Hoarders have a terrible reputation. Hoarding has a terrible reputation. We get publicly shamed on TV programs. If there's something in the papers or on the internet about a hoarder, it's never a good thing. It's never covered sensitively. It's just awful. And so we take on this shame because that's how the world sees us. But also I look around my house and I feel shame even without those outside attitudes. I look around my house and I see someone who has failed to do something that the vast majority of people seem to be able to do, and that is to throw away things and to keep their home clean and tidy. It makes me feel like a failure of a human being. I'm failing as an adult to just do the basics, and that is, for me, shameful. But that shame makes me make less progress. This is the paradox of it. we are shamed, we are given shame, we feel shame, and because of that shame, we don't make the progress we could have made if this was destigmatized and if people stopped treating us like monstrous human beings. It's counterproductive. It's counterproductive. I have times where I want to get a lot of rubbish out of the house, but I feel so conscious of what my neighbours would think if I trekked out with 18 tons of rubbish bags that it holds me back. And I feel like I've got to do it gradually so that nobody suspects I'm a hoarder. And of course that slows me down, and it doesn't take advantage of those occasional strong urges to just blitz things. If there wasn't that shame, maybe I could do more in those moments. And I take responsibility. I do take responsibility for the state my house is in. I perhaps didn't used to, but now I fully see that it's unacceptable and that I'm the one who's done this. Equally, I've not done it for fun. I've done it because my brain just works differently to the brains of people who aren't hoarders. Another way that shame has impacted me is that until I started this podcast, I couldn't say the words hoarder or hoarding. I was so ashamed to be associated with those words at all. So of course I couldn't ask for help. Because if you say I need some help because my house is a mess, that doesn't get across the same truth as saying I need some help, I'm a hoarder. But the word is so stigmatized, I couldn't say it. It was only starting doing this podcast when I had to force myself to learn to say it, because making a podcast about hoarding without saying the words hoarder or hoarding would just have been a bit ridiculous, to be honest. But that leads me to another reason shame is counterproductive and toxic. Apart from the CBT I had this year, I don't know, the CBT I had, I haven't been able to ask for help because of the stigma, because I feel so much shame about the situation I'm in. I didn't even really ask for help with the CBT. I was forced to access help because my landlord found out my situation. I have never been able to say to a mental health professional or to anybody, I'm a hoarder, I need some help, because of the shame. I'm slowly getting used to just saying the words, but I don't know if I'll ever feel confident enough and be able to shed the shame enough to openly say, I need more help with this because I'm a hoarder. If you're not a hoarder and you feel like those of us who are should be ashamed, I need you to see that first of all, we probably already are ashamed, but the more that is put on us, the less likely we are to stop being a hoarder. It's not helping us. It's like shaming a child for spelling something wrong. You're not encouraging them to spell it correctly. You're just making them feel self-conscious and embarrassed and scared to try and spell something next time. I'm in this for the long haul. I have to be. I need to resolve this problem for myself, and I'm doing it really slowly, but bit by bit by bit, things are changing.
A lot can happen in the next 3 years. Like a chatbot may be your new best friend. But what won't change? Needing health insurance. United Healthcare Tri-Term Medical Plans are available for these changing times. Underwritten by Golden Rule Insurance Company, they offer budget-friendly, flexible coverage for people who are in between jobs or missed open enrollment. The plans last nearly 3 years in some states, with access to a nationwide network of doctors and hospitals. So for whatever tomorrow brings, United Healthcare Tri-Term Medical Plans may be for you. Learn more at uh1.com.
Hey everyone, I'm Craig Robinson, co-host of the Ways to Win podcast, alongside my good friend John Calipari. I've been on the go recently. Phoenix, Kansas City, Chicago. If you're like me and have a home but aren't always at home, you have an Airbnb. Hosting your home or a spare room is a very practical side hustle. If you live in a big game town, you can Airbnb your place for fans to stay in. Your home might be worth more than you think. Find out how much at airbnb.com/host.
But the thought of people finding out how I really live makes me want to curl up and sleep forever. And that shame doesn't do me any good. Doesn't do any of us any good. If we can reduce the stigma associated with mental illnesses like hoarding disorder, like compulsive hoarding, that can only be a positive. That can only help. The world has done quite a good job at destigmatizing things like anxiety and depression. And that's great. I am all in support of destigmatizing anxiety and depression. But we haven't destigmatized all mental illnesses. We've destigmatized a handful. And there are many. And those of us with the other ones, the bad ones, are in the position that people with anxiety and depression were in 20 years ago, where they didn't dare tell their employer, they didn't dare tell their friends, they didn't dare go to the doctor. I would really benefit from friends cheering me on in this journey I'm on. I would really benefit from being able to go to my Facebook page and go, hey, I threw out 12 bags today. But I can't, because the stigma is so great and the shame is so great. And this is a problem. This is a problem for those of us with this problem, and it's a problem that society has to address. And hoarders ourselves can't do all the legwork on that. Some people are doing great work in this area. I appreciate them speaking up. I appreciate the brave people who go on the hoarding TV programs, even if I mostly hate those TV programs. I think the people who are hoarders who go on them are so brave. So brave. Those who speak at conferences. I've been chatting to a woman on Twitter, you know who you are, who is a hoarder who has spoken at conferences, and I have so much respect for that. But that should be brave because it's public speaking. It shouldn't be brave because it's being publicly out as somebody who has a particular mental health problem, or a particular struggle in their life, or a particular neurodiversity. Everybody can take steps to reduce the stigma associated with hoarding. That's part of what this podcast is about, what my website is about. But I'm still so secretive because I'm still so ashamed. And that shame is toxic. In just 1 second, I'll give you my top tip of the week. In the meantime, please do subscribe to the podcast, review it, 5 stars would be amazing, and share it with your friends or anyone who might be interested or who might benefit from it. It all really helps. To find out more ways to support the website, the podcast, and my overall de-hoarding project, go to overcomecompulsivehoarding.co.uk/support. Now, back to your top tip. So for my top tip this week, I'm doing something a bit different. There is a woman on TikTok called Anne Russell. I will link to her TikTok account in the show notes. And she's great. She is a cleaner as her job, but a lot of what she talks about in her videos is, again, associated a bit with stigma. She answers questions from people who are struggling with their home and just gives really sensible advice. And this particular video that you're about to hear the audio of, somebody had commented on one of her videos, cleanliness is next to godliness. And she just gave a really straightforward, really sensible response to that. So here that is.
No, we are not doing that. It is not. Cleanliness is nothing to do with morals. You can be a good and valuable person if you do not keep your house clean and tidy, and you can be a downright wicked person if your house is spotless. The only thing that a clean house can tell you is that you have got a clean house. That it's not your fault. I'm sure that's something that you've been taught from a tiny little bean. I know I was. And it's not true. And it's an idea that has been used to cause harm to minorities, to people of colour, to people, to poor people for generations. It was used as a way to gatekeep philanthropy to people who needed it. And it's just not true. There are millions of reasons why people cannot or don't want to keep a home spotless. I have got better things to do than clean places that don't, for the sake of cleaning them. It doesn't make me a better person because I do or I don't. And it doesn't make anybody a better person. So please, that idea is not beneficial to anybody, and we're not going to do that here because it is wrong. And like I said, I know you've been taught that, but you need to lose that idea because it's not a good one.
Okay, thank you for listening, and I'll speak to you next time. Thank you for listening to the Overcome Compulsive Hoarding podcast. You can find more online at overcomecompulsivehoarding.co.uk. You can find me on Twitter at @thathoarder and on Facebook at Overcome Compulsive Hoarding with That Hoarder. To find out more about how you can support this podcast and the overall project, go to overcomecompulsivehoarding.co.uk/support, and do subscribe to this podcast so you make sure you don't miss any future episodes.